A high-speed crash involving a stolen vehicle and a TTC bus is caught on camera. We're going to have the latest on the overnight collision in North York.
And the Ford government tables a bill that would shutter some supervised drug consumption sites in the province.
And the Argonauts, they're on their way back home as CFL champions. We'll have more on their Grey Cup victory just ahead.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. Our top story tonight, the Toronto Police Association is speaking out once again about the bail system after a stolen vehicle collided with a TTC bus overnight, leaving 9 people injured.
And for more on this, we turn to CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan, who joins us live from Bathurst and Wilson with the latest. Steve.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena, not only was that vehicle that struck the TTC bus a stolen vehicle, I'm told that it was obtained through a carjacking out in Peel region just a short time ago. But the Toronto Police Association sent out a tweet earlier this afternoon saying that 2 of the 4 people that were in that stolen vehicle who were injured were out on criminal releases. And one of those 2 individuals had just been charged with a violent robbery. So it certainly caught the attention of the Police Association. And I'll talk about that at the end of this hit. But let's get to the synopsis as to what happened. We're at Bathurst and Wilson, north-south for Bathurst, east-west Wilson. It's governed by a 50 kilometer per hour speed sign. And police tell us that just before 2 o'clock this morning, 2 vehicles, a dark-colored SUV and a white BMW SUV as well, were both traveling westbound at high rates of speed. Both those vehicles entered the intersection. The black vehicle did not stop after the collision. It kept going, and the police are actively trying to look for that. The other car struck a TTC bus that was traveling southbound through this intersection, struck it at such a significant impact that it spun the bus around 180 degrees, having the front end face north. There were 9 people in total injured, 5 from the bus, 4 passengers and the driver, all with minor injuries. 4 people in the white SUV were rushed to a hospital. 2 of those people remain in critical condition. So the reconstruction team was on scene here for a considerable part of the day, reconstructing the accident, and it certainly did catch the attention of the Police Association. And I spoke with Clayton Campbell, their president, and I'll tell you what he said to me at the end of this clip. But first, let's listen to what a witness told us earlier on. Here it is.
I was inside working when the collision happened. I just heard a really loud sound. It was like a bomb. I was scared, so initially I thought maybe someone is breaking into the restaurant. I just checked and just saw the collision.
So when I spoke with Campbell on the afternoon show, he'd said that he and his association support restorative justice. He says they're not expecting everybody to be kept in custody. Of course not. But what he is concerned with is that the recidivism, is with repeat offenders being out on multiple bails, with violent offenders not getting the sentences that would deter others from doing so. And basically what he said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, when you have the criminal world collide both physically and metaphorically with the working person's world, what you get is what we saw today. A bus driver working their job with passengers on that bus, struck by 2 people, a car with 4 people, 2 of which were out on criminal bails, 1 just been charged with a violent robbery. This is what the police associations across the GTA are frustrated with, and they're calling on the feds to act to make some improvements so that this doesn't continue to happen. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Steve Ryan working on our top story tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this. Well, the Ford government has tabled a bill that would shutter some supervised drug consumption sites in the province.
So the legislation would close 10 of the facilities that the province has deemed too close to schools and daycares. 5 are located in Toronto. It would also require municipalities to get provincial approval before opening new supervised injection sites. Now, the government says it's responding to serious safety concerns that have been raised by municipal officials, business leaders, and parents.
Ontarians deserve more than a healthcare system that provides people struggling with addiction tools to use illegal drugs. That is why our government, in addition to prioritizing and enhancing community safety, is taking the next step to create a system of care focused on prevention, treatment, and recovery.
And critics have been gathering at Queen's Park tonight to protest the Ford government's plans to shutter supervised consumption sites, new schools and daycares. It comes as the Ford government officially introduced a bill on the matter today.
And CP24's Melissa Duggan joins us live with more on this latest demonstration. Melissa.
Yeah, so there is pushback here at Queen's Park today to this bill introduced by the provincial government that's set to close 10 of these safe drug consumption sites across the province, 5 of them here in Toronto. The province is saying that they don't want these sites close to schools or to daycare. So if they happen to be in an area within 200 meters of those certain locations, they will be forced to close down. Now, we have been hearing from advocates who say they want these safe consumption sites to stay open, insisting that they save lives, and also saying that they provide some essential services too. They provide safe, clean needles, and they also collect needles too and dispose of them safely. I want to share more of the messages that they're sharing today.
Every municipality in this province better get an emergency plan in place because people are going to be overdosing and dying outside. During COVID, when we had when we were in lockdown, supervised consumption sites stepped up and stayed open. The Toronto Public Health supervised consumption site, the works closed. What happened on that day that it closed its services? People were outside overdosing, and people had to volunteer to go outside and save people's lives. And as workers, we came across people who were dead out on the sidewalk. That's just from one site closing.
We are setting our children up to live in a violent and dangerous world. I am committed to building a world where everyone matters and where we care and value everyone in our communities. We need safe consumption sites. I urge you to keep them open. They are a part of a safe and caring world that we gift to our children.
Something else we were hearing from Health Minister Sylvia Jones today, too, where she was talking about this, what she calls a loophole, where anyone that wants to open one of these safe consumption sites, if they reach out to the federal government for their approval, for their funding, well, they can get the okay that way. But Jones is saying that Ontario, with this new bill, is looking to close that loophole. She is saying that no further safe consumption sites will be allowed to open in this province. And by the way, the deadline for those 10 sites that have been earmarked to close is for the end of March. Back to you.
Continuing our live coverage from Queen's Park, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Melissa, thank you. Well, also, the province has announced a multi-million-dollar investment to combat bullying in schools and expand mental health supports for students.
CP24's Phil Perkins has the details on the initiative that'll see a number of organizations receive funding. Phil.
Yeah, 10 organizations in total. Lena and Bakari, the Ontario government spending just under $5 million, $4.6 million, announcing this on Bullying Prevention Week. According to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, about 50% of young people say that they're dealing with symptoms of depression and anxiety. More than 30% say that they are not coping well. So some of these 10 organizations that are going to be getting the money, a bulk is going to be Big Brothers, Big Sisters. They're getting $1.485 million. Another one called Roots of Empathy getting $1 million. They work to reduce aggression within students and enhance social emotional competence. And they're also going to be giving a couple $100,000 to PFLAG to help improve mental health and relationships between 2S LGBTQ students and their parents. That's going to be culturally sensitive as well. For more on this, this is Education Minister Jill Dunlop and Kids Help Phone's Jameson Scott.
School boards are also required to have clear anti-bullying policies in place to help foster welcoming and supportive school communities, and must provide annual professional development to educate teachers and other school staff about bullying prevention and intervention strategies. All of this is how we ensure that students are supported, not just academically, but also emotionally and mentally, and how we can foster a positive school climate that provides critical support for students as they face personal and academic challenges.
I remember the tremendous amount of fear I had Would I be able to communicate all that I felt and all that I thought that I was to a complete stranger if I couldn't even communicate with my own family? And then someone picked up the phone. Hi, you've reached Kids Help Phone. What can I do to help you today? My guardian angel had arrived in the form of a Kids Help Phone counselor. We talked for a while, and before I knew it, that fear that I had was gone and was replaced by something I hadn't felt before: hope.
Yeah, so out of the 10 organizations, we gave you a couple that are going to be getting money there. Another one, Child Development Institute, helped improve emotional regulation and problem solving. So seemingly trying to stop the bully from becoming a bully and try to regulate their emotions, try to figure things out before lashing out at others. Send it back to you two.
All right, it's 5:10, 12 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the rest of the year doesn't look too bright for the Canadian dollar. We're going to have more on the look ahead right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. The loonie is expected to remain weak compared to the U.S. dollar for the rest of this year and possibly beyond.
The Canadian dollar fell to a 4-year low last week and is currently trading around 71 cents U.S. The decline is the result of a surging U.S. dollar on the back of Trump's re-election, as well as a weaker Canadian economy. Some experts say if Trump's promised tariff hikes hit Canadian exports, our dollar will continue to fall. There's a possibility that the government will negotiate a better trade deal with the U.S., avoiding the worst-case scenario for tariffs.
Well, 2 people are dead and a third critically wounded after a stabbing rampage across Manhattan.
The 51-year-old suspect was arrested after being found with 2 kitchen knives and blood-stained clothes. Officials say that the attacks were unprovoked. A 26-year-old construction worker and a 68-year-old man who was fishing were killed. A 36-year-old woman has critical injuries. Mayor Eric Adams says the incident is a clear example of failures in the criminal justice system, as the suspect, who's apparently homeless, had been sentenced in a separate criminal case just a few months ago.
And staying in the U.S., Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with U.S. President Joe Biden at the G20 summit in Brazil today.
A statement from the White House says that the 2 leaders talked about the economy, climate change, migration, and defense just weeks before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The statement also says both leaders agreed that strengthening democracy and rule of law were essential to the prosperity and success of North America. Trudeau has also been meeting with other G7 leaders in Brazil.
Well, a new study finds more girls are taking part in sports in Canada, but they still lag well behind the boys.
According to the Rally Report 2024 released today by nonprofit group Canadian Women in Sport, 63% of girls ages 6 to 18 play an organized sport weekly. That's compared to 68% of boys. Nearly 4 in 10 girls are not playing sports, and by age 16, that drops to half. And girls from lower-income households of all racial backgrounds are less likely to participate, and that's especially true for girls with a disability.
We start to see a drop-off start actually before the age of 10, and then it just accelerates through the teen years. And so what it really calls for is within the sports system and all the sport leaders and organizations that are involved in making sport come to life in this country, for them to really become more educated in what it looks like to create spaces that really work for girls, that foster a sense of belonging throughout the whole pathway, but particularly in those teen years when there's so many things pushing and pulling on girls. If we can keep them in sport, then it will make a difference for their whole lives.
Now, this is important. 2 in 5 girls report that comments about their appearance, clothing, or religious attire impact their participation in sports.
Well, November is Women Abuse Prevention Month. It's an opportunity to raise awareness of gender-based violence.
The United Nations says 1 in 3 women experience at least one incident of physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. In 2023, the UN says more than 51,000 cases were reported last year. The violence led to femicide. CP24 spoke with the CEO of Peel Children's Aid Society about the prevalence of intimate partner violence.
It represents almost a third of our referrals. In 2022-2023, we saw about 29% of our referrals being related to intimate partner violence, and that rose to 36% last year. It's a concern for us because we know to be able to keep children safe, we need to keep women safe. And so it's really important that we're doing some education around this so that women know that they're not alone and that there's resources out there.
And next Monday is recognized as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women.
Well, a recent report suggests about 1 in 5 Americans regularly get their news from influencers on social media.
The Pew Research Center report found that news influencers posted mostly about politics and the election, followed by social issues like race and abortion and international events such as the Israel-Hamas war. Most of them are men, and the majority have no affiliation or background with a media organization.
A new study suggests sitting too much, that can be really bad for your heart. Researchers examined data from almost 90,000 people. They found those who had higher amounts of sedentary time were at greater risk for cardiovascular disease later in life. They also discovered that working out at the end of the day does not necessarily undo long bouts of sitting. The study suggests that sitting for more than 10 hours a day is just way too much. So
all right.
gotta
I guess
walk
I'll
around.
just stop exercising then if it doesn't do any good at the end of the day.
I don't think that's the idea.
Right.
5:17, 13 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Argos fans will be celebrating in the city tomorrow following the big win by the Boatmen in the CFL final. We're going to have more on this after the break. And the Argos are on their way home from Vancouver with the Grey Cup. They're going to be holding a rally downtown tomorrow.
Yeah, CP24's Andrew Brennan has all the details on this massive party. Andrew.
Yeah, Lena Bakari, let's talk not just about party, but football, a tailgate. That's really what this is more going to be like. So that's tomorrow at 11 a.m. in front of Scotiabank Arena. Now, let's talk about how we're going to get there and also what's going to happen beforehand. So we can do a quick recap here about the game. You know, the Argos were coming in as an underdog, even though they've beaten the Blue Bombers every time that they faced them in the last 5 years. Let's not forget, Winnipeg has gone to the final for every year in the last 5 years, and they were hoping to create a dynasty. Doesn't seem like that's going to really happen with the Argos once again upsetting them. The final score was 41-24. You can see that the elation on the team's faces as they were hoisting the Grey Cup last night in Vancouver. They have left Vancouver, by the way, and are on their way back to Toronto, expecting to touch down in the city just over 2 hours from now. The plane's a little late, but when they do arrive, they're expected to address the media, show off the cup as well in preparation for tomorrow. And of course, I know one of the people that a lot of the press want to talk to is Nick Arbuckle. He was the second string quarterback called into action and ultimately walking away with the MVP. He threw for over 250 yards in an impeccable performance that no one thought would come from the relieving quarterback. Here's some fans we spoke to talking about how big of a deal this is.
What a great night, friends and family, Argos fans. Can't get any better. Grey Cup 2024. Yeah!
It's a great display of our team. We've been faithful since day one. They have been doing a great job all year.
It always surprises you how much of the hardcore CFL fans there are in Toronto. They're just waves spread out more.
Do you think this team gets enough love in this city?
The Argos? Yeah. Not enough. Absolutely not enough. But they deserve for everything they've earned. Absolutely.
And they'll definitely have some people showing them tomorrow all their love this city does have for them. Whether it's enough, what does remain to be seen. But after the performance of the Jonas Brothers, you can see how big of a deal the CFL still remains, even in this day and age for our country. So like I said earlier on, guys, the party starts tomorrow at 11 a.m. It runs for 2 hours. Get there early is the recommendation, because there's going to be a lot of people and you want to get through security. Back to you both.
All right, CP24's Andrew Brennan live in studio with the Argos Celebration.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, Maple Leafs captain Austin Matthews is set to miss his 7th consecutive game later this week.
Yeah, head coach Craig Berube says Matthews is not expected to suit up when the team hosts the Vegas Golden Knights Wednesday. The Star Center remains listed as day-to-day with an undisclosed upper body injury. He's not played since November 3rd.
The 58th annual CP24 Chum Christmas Wish Toy Drive, that is officially underway.
Look at these students at St. Gregory the Great Catholic Academy in Vaughan, helping kick off the campaign with a festive celebration this morning. The CP24 Chum Christmas Wish collects new unwrapped toys for kids up to 18 years old to make sure that everyone wakes up to a present Christmas morning. Well, last year in the city of Vaughan, they collected 13,500 toys and more than $25,000 to donate to the Wish.
We know that this year, right up till December the 13th, fire halls, libraries, city hall, community centers, come on out. I know how generous our community is. We're gonna do really great again this year because of our people.
You know, there are thousands of children who are at risk of waking up on Christmas morning with nothing, no excitement, no laughter, no gift. But we all have the power to bring hope back into their lives. So we know the CP24 Chum Christmas Wish has been the largest distributor of toys in the GTA for children in need. We work with a number of different local social services organizations and churches, boys and girls clubs, all the organizations who know those families that need to benefit from the work that we're doing.
You know, it is so great that we get to take part in this every single year. It means so much to so many families, so many kids. Gift cards and monetary donations, by the way, are also greatly appreciated. To donate to the CP24 Chum Christmas Wish, visit thewish.ca.
Right now it's 5:25, 9 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And Beyonce fans may get a Christmas wish of their own. We're going to explain that coming up. Stay with us. The Houston Texans will visit the Dallas Cowboys tonight for Monday Night Football to wrap up Week 11 in the NFL.
The 6-4 Texans, they have just one win in their last 4 games, while the 3-6 Cowboys have dropped 4 straight, and they're without starting quarterback Dak Prescott for the rest of the season. Kickoff tonight is at 8:15 on TSN.
And Beyonce is set to perform at an NFL game on Christmas Day in her hometown of Houston. Netflix announced the megastar will take the stage for the halftime show on December 25th in the game involving the Texans and Ravens. The streaming service did not reveal details about the performance, but teased that it would likely feature guest appearances from her Cowboy Carter album. Now, the other Christmas Day game features the Chiefs and Steelers, leading to speculation that Taylor Swift, who will be wrapped up with her Eras tour, could also perform.
Well, it's 9 degrees, 5:28. This is Live at 5.
A high-speed crash involving a stolen vehicle and a TTC bus is caught on camera. We're going to have the latest on the overnight collision in North York coming up. Stay with us.
A high-speed crash involving a stolen vehicle and a TTC bus is caught on camera. We're going to have the latest on the overnight collision in North York.
The Ford government tables a bill that would shutter some supervised drug consumption sites in the province. We're going to have reaction from critics at Queen's Park tonight.
And the Argonauts are on their way back home as CFL champions. We are going to have more on their Grey Cup win. That's just ahead.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifax.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Let's get to one of our top stories. The Ford government has tabled a bill. It would shutter some supervised drug consumption sites in the province.
The legislation would close 10 of the facilities that the province has deemed too close to schools and daycares. 5 are located in our city, in Toronto. It would also require municipalities to get provincial approval before opening new supervised injection sites. The government says it's responding to serious safety concerns that have been raised by municipal officials, business leaders, and parents.
Imagine taking that child to daycare or to school, a process that can be overwhelming, and getting yelled at, harassed, or verbally, physically assaulted. Imagine walking that child in the door of their school or daycare and finding someone using drugs, or seeing an individual defecating or urinating in the entranceway. Imagine getting a call that your child has picked up a dirty needle in the daycare yard, or a bag of unknown toxic drugs during recess time.
And for more on how critics are responding at Queen's Park, right now, let's check in with CP24's Melissa Duggan, who continues our coverage. Melissa.
Hey, Bakari. Yeah, so what we heard from harm reduction workers today, stepping up to the microphone, one after another, saying that losing these safe consumption sites is going to cost lives. One of the messages they shared as well is that the province, that municipalities, they better have an emergency plan in place because without these sites, we're going to be seeing ambulances, paramedics, police responding to more overdose calls than what they're already responding to right now, because they say these safe consumption sites reduce those numbers of calls. Another thing that we're hearing from one advocate who was saying that it is mostly Indigenous people who are using these sites, and that it is Indigenous people who are paying the steepest price for today's announcement. Have a listen.
We call upon the Ford government to not only keep safe consumption sites open, but to expand on the harm reduction services offered to our communities. Harm reduction is sacred, and it is an integral part of the health and well-being of many Indigenous people's lives. We remind this government of the promises made to First Nations people of this country and demand that you follow through with your responsibilities.
This government is quite cruel. This government is actually really evil. And I know that sounds harsh, but as somebody who's been working in the overdose crisis for over a decade, we have seen people die. We've seen people dead outside, overdosing in bathrooms, overdosing on the street. And that is exactly what's going to happen when these sites close. This government is extremely unserious, and it's punishing people, and they know that people will die.
Something else we're hearing from those workers, too, is that they're saying these new heart hubs that the province is looking to open, that they're going to be linking people in need with different services. But they say these safe consumption sites, they already do that. And they say, yes, getting people into rehab, getting them the help that they need is really critical. But the wait time to get into those centers can be months long. And the reality is that people need help on a day-to-day basis, something that they say they are providing. Now, under this new bill introduced today, these safe consumption sites won't be allowed to operate in areas that are within 200 meters of schools, within daycares as well. And that's going to affect 10 sites in all across the province right now. 5 of them are in Toronto. And this new rule, if it's all passed, is going to set to take effect by the end of March. Back to you.
All right, continuing our coverage from Queen's Park, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Well, the Toronto Police Association is speaking out again about the bail system. This is after a stolen vehicle collided with a TTC bus. It happened overnight, leaving 9 people injured.
Yeah, that investigation continues. CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live from Bathurst and Wilson with the very latest. The province is also speaking out about bail reform tonight, Steve.
It's a big issue, Lena, when it comes to recidivism. We hear from police leaders all the time, and I'll summarize a conversation I had with the TPA's president, Clayton Campbell, earlier on today as well. They are all calling for action to be taken by the federal government, because for far too long now we've heard many police leaders talk about repeat offenders out on several bails, committing violent crimes, and those who are convicted of violent crimes doing the same thing again. And they have said to me, and they said in public, that the sentencing for these crimes is not enough. It's not acting as a deterrent. It's not just for the person doing the crime who gets caught. It's for everybody else to say, if you do that crime, you're going to be sentenced to X amount of time in custody, and that's not happening right now. And it's got people, including Clayton Campbell, very frustrated with the lack of action by what they're saying is lack of action from the federal government. So we're talking about a personal injury collision that happened just after 2 o'clock this morning. Bathurst, north-south, Wilson, east-west. Wilson is a 50-kilometer-per-hour speed limit. Now, we're showing you the surveillance video right now that we obtained, and it's just a blur, but you can see 2 cars going westbound on Wilson Avenue as they go through the intersection. The southbound bus got struck in the intersection and got hit so hard that it pivoted and wound up 180 degrees facing northbound in the southbound lanes. In one of those vehicles, now the black car, that was the second car involved, the white BMW SUV was the one that struck the bus. The black SUV was traveling just as fast with the white vehicle. That didn't stop, so the police are actively looking for that vehicle. The white vehicle struck the bus. That white vehicle was a stolen vehicle. Inside that car were 4 people. 2 of them have been taken to hospital and are in the trauma unit right now. 2 of them, according to the Toronto Police Association, they sent out a statement today, 2 of those people are out on criminal releases. One of them has been charged with a very violent robbery, and now they're out. The allegations are that they're committing more offenses, and I'm told that that stolen car was taken from Peel Region during a carjacking just a short time ago. So 9 people in total were injured. On the bus were the driver and 4 others that were injured. They are being treated in hospital as well, and police are actively trying to locate that black vehicle that was traveling at just as high a speed as a white vehicle just prior to the point of impact. Here's more from the duty officer who we heard from earlier today with regards to what happened this morning. Let's listen.
The white BMW struck the TTC with such force that while it was initially traveling southbound, as you see behind me, the vehicle, the TTC vehicle, was spun around and faced northbound. As you can imagine, there were a number of very serious injuries. Police immediately responded to this collision, and uniform officers actually found the white BMW on fire. They quickly put out the fire and extricated at least, 1 person.
So Clayton Campbell said to me today that he and his association support restorative justice, as does all the police services that I've talked to throughout the many years. What they have concerns with is the repeat offenders, violent offenders that are out there. They have a disregard for public safety, and when their world collides both physically and metaphorically with the law-abiding world, what you get is what we saw this morning here, where that bus, a guy is out driving a bus, just doing his job, people on that bus, and they were affected by criminals who were speeding along Wilson Avenue. That's the concern for police, and this is why they're calling on reform. Send it back to you guys.
Yeah, terrifying moments for the people on that TTC bus this morning. Steve Ryan breaking it all down for us tonight. Steve, thanks so much for this. Well, the province has announced a multi-million-dollar investment to combat bullying in schools and expand mental health supports for students.
And CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live with the details on the initiative that will see a number of organizations receive funding. Phil.
Now, around 10 organizations going to be sharing the $4.6 million being spent by the province. Are doing this during a bullying prevention week. You know, as a parent, one of the worst things that you could probably hear if your kid's just entering school is that they're getting bullied. And it makes everything difficult, getting them to school and all that stuff. It's not great. Now, when you take a look at the list of some of the organizations getting money, a lot of them seem to be trying to, get these bullies before they actually reach out and hurt somebody else emotionally, physically. Obviously, Kids Help Phone is going to be getting some money here. $1.48 million going to Big Brothers and Sisters. $1 million going to a group I've never heard of called Roots of Empathy. It's mainly used to reduce aggression and enhance social emotional competence. Another group called the Child Development Institute. It works to improve emotional regulation, problem solving. So again, trying to prevent someone from becoming a bully and hurting somebody else. So here's Education Minister Jill Dunlop and Jameson Scott with Kids Help Phone.
We can't tackle the issue of safety in our schools alone. It requires an all-hands-on-deck effort from educators, parents, and the community. It's our shared responsibility to create the best possible conditions for learning and growth. And with your support, we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of our children. By working together, we can ensure that every child feels safe and included in their school environment.
When I ended the call, I knew that I could throw my plans of suicide out the window. I knew it wasn't going to get better overnight. There was still a lot of work to be done. But Kids Help Phone gave me that spark of courage to keep going, to prove to those who bullied me that they were wrong, that I was worth it, that I had value, and that I had a future. I am only one out of millions of people, both young and old now, who have been in that dark tunnel and only saw the darkness until Kids Help Phone showed them the light and the strength that all young people carry with them.
Now, according to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, about 50% of young people say that they're dealing with depression or anxiety. About 31% say that they are not coping well. Back to you guys.
All right. Some alarming stats there, Phil. Yep. Thanks so much for this. 542, 9 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
The House of Commons condemns an alleged Iranian plot to assassinate former Liberal Justice Minister Aaron Cotler. We'll tell you what we know so far just ahead.
Welcome back. We take you to Ottawa now, where the House of Commons has condemned an alleged Iranian plot to assassinate former Liberal Justice Minister Irwin Cotler.
MPs in the House unanimously supported a Bloc Québécois motion. Cotler's office confirms to CTV News the human rights advocate and longtime vocal critic of Iran was informed of the foil plot. According to a Globe and Mail report, Cotler was told about an imminent threat on his life late last month. He was already under round-the-clock security protection. Procurement Minister Jean-Yves Duclos says that Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc is fully aware of the allegations.
Well, I think these allegations are obviously very important. No, it must be very difficult for him in particular and his family and his friends to hear that. This being said, Minister LeBlanc is fully aware of these allegations and will be able and available to provide any of the legitimate answers and precision that you require.
LeBlanc's office says the minister cannot comment or confirm any specific RCMP operations for security reasons.
Let's talk about money for a minute. The loonie is expected to remain weak compared to the U.S. dollar for the rest of this year and possibly beyond.
Yeah, the Canadian dollar fell to a 4-year low last week and is currently trading around 71 cents U.S. The decline is the result of a surging U.S. dollar on the back of Trump's re-election, as well as a weaker Canadian economy. Some experts say if Trump's promised tariff hikes hit Canadian exports, our dollar will continue to fall. There's also the possibility the government will negotiate a better trade deal with the U.S., avoiding the worst-case scenario for tariffs.
And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with U.S. President Joe Biden at the G20 summit in Brazil today.
A statement from the White House says the two leaders talked about the economy, climate change, migration, and defense just weeks before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The statement also says both leaders agreed that strengthening democracy and rule of law were essential to the prosperity and success of North America. Now, Trudeau has also been meeting with other G7 leaders in Brazil.
It's 5:46, 9 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Argos fans will be celebrating in the city tomorrow following the big win by the Boatmen in the CFL final. We'll have a lot more on this coming up next. Stay with us.
The Argos are on their way home from Vancouver with the Grey Cup, and they're going to be holding a rally downtown tomorrow.
CP24's Andrew Brennan joins us live now with all the details. I feel like everyone's going to be in the Argos Square, if I can call it that, Andrew.
Yeah, forget Maple Leaf Square. We can rename it for a day. There's already Raptors Way down there. Who needs we don't need consistency. We need a party. I think that's what the general theme is here. So get on your double blue. Get those Boatman shirts on. It is time to celebrate. And for a professional sports team to take back any trophy to Toronto, I mean, I'm not saying it's been a bit of a time these last couple of years, but we got one. We got another one. By the way, the Argos have gone 8-0 in the final game since 1991 and taking their 19th Grey Cup home last night. So you did mention they're on their way back, guys. Well, they're actually in the air right now, and they will be touching down in Toronto around 7:30. And we're expecting to not only hear from them as they have immediate availability, but they'll be showing off that hardware as well with the Grey Cup in tow. Let's hear from a few fans, because if this is all about the fans, ultimately the result was one thing, but now it's about the people.
What a great night, friends and family, Argos fans. Can't get any better. Grey Cup 2024. Yeah!
It's a great display of our team. We've been faithful since day one. They have been doing a great job all year.
It always surprises you how much of the hardcore CFL fans there are in Toronto. They're just waves spread out more.
Do you think this team gets enough love in this city?
The Argos? Not enough. Absolutely not enough. But they deserve for everything they've earned. Absolutely.
Now, if you think the Argos haven't gotten enough love, well, you can show it tomorrow. I know we're showing the big spectacle last night because the Jonas Brothers were the halftime performers, which pretty big get for the CFL. But tomorrow, 11 a.m., outside of the Scotiabank Arena at what now I think Lena Latifat has decided will be Argos Square. There is a 2-hour party planned to get there early, we're told by MLSE, because there's security, one, to make sure that everyone's safe, and two, just because of logistics. There's going to be a lot of people there. You want to get a good spot. Well, don't be a latecomer because this is a 2-hour party. I'm sure it may go on a little bit later, but all things considered, if you're there early, you'll get a good spot to see the beautiful Grey Cup. Guys, I think I need to get going. I need to get a good spot.
I think you need to get ready for the party, Andrew. You seem very excited. That's solid advice, by the way. And I like the idea of renaming it Argos Square. I'm going to send Mayor Olivia Chow an email right now. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of power, so I'm going to send the mayor a note. It's 5:52 now, 13 degrees. You're watching Live at 5. Andrew, thanks so much for this.
Well, flu season is fast approaching. Health professionals are urging people to guard against getting sick. More on this just ahead. Milder than usual weather. It continues for now, but flu season, it is fast approaching. Health professionals are urging people to get their shot now.
Yeah, and for more on the message, we're joined live by pharmacist John Papasturgio. John, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Look, it's that time of year where everyone seems to be getting sick, or you know someone who's gotten sick, and we know that flu shots have been available to the general public for a few weeks now. What are you noticing, and how's that rollout going?
Yeah, no, it's great to be back. I've noticed it's been a little slower than usual. I find generally what happens, we get, our senior patients come in, patients with comorbidities, other risk factors, where there's an opportunity for some of the younger patients to come in. And that's where I've definitely seen a little bit of reduced traffic, but you kind of hit the nail on the head. The weather's been better. Doesn't really feel like we're getting into flu season yet, but the cough and colds are starting. People are starting to get those runny noses. So it's, if you haven't gotten your flu shot, make an appointment, get into your local pharmacy and get that jab.
Okay, so we got to go over the list. We have flu, we have COVID, we have RSV. What else are you looking for in terms of, viral infections this season?
Well, you hit the big three, right? We've almost renamed flu season now to respiratory season because it really is about flu and COVID. We try to do a lot of those shots together, co-administer them. We're able to do that. And it's about 70% of the time now we're trying to give both. And that program has been very successful. RSV, a little bit of a newer vaccine. We're in our second or third season now, but we're starting to see those seniors patients that are eligible and come in and get that vaccine. The one that you missed is pneumococcal vaccination. That's the fourth one, right? So I think very, very important as well. So, ask your pharmacist, speak to your pharmacist. They'll tell you what vaccines you're eligible for, a candidate for, and if we could give them all if we have to.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question. This isn't news to us anymore. We know that you can get your COVID shot and your flu shot at the same time. Do you feel like most people have understood that by now?
No, I think we're still trying to kind of educate them on that. I mean, there's a little bit of that vaccine fatigue out there. I think we talked a lot about vaccines during COVID, and I think as we came out of it, one of the questions I get is, do I still need to get vaccinated? Do I need to get 2 at once? Do I need to get 3 of them? And I think we do spend quite a bit of time just trying to speak to our patients and let them know, we got to stay up to date with our vaccines. And it's very important to, every season to see what are you eligible for? What am I at risk for? And should I get vaccinated? And we'll help guide the patients at that point.
Okay, so also I want to ask you something. So south of the border, the FDA just approved these new at-home tests where, you can take it and you can tell whether you have COVID or influenza. Let's talk about, how helpful that'll be, and should we kind of adopt something like that here?
The key is to try to prevent COVID and influenza. I mean, it's nice to be able to test for them and to know what you have, but by that point, it's too late, right? I think with respect to vaccination, we want to get the patients vaccinated as early as possible. It takes about 2 weeks to get full immunity as well. I mean, I think it's important for surveillance and identifying what you have and then for potential treatments. But I think the message here today is let's get people vaccinated early, preferably our younger patient population, to prevent these outbreaks from happening during kind of the middle of the winter, right?
Okay. We'll have to leave it there. Pharmacist John Papasturgio, thanks so much for the advice. Appreciate your time.
It's 5:59, 9 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. CTV News at 6 is coming up next.